Hey guys, it's Katya, and I'm going to be reading to you guys today. And also, that noise you hear in the background is rain, and so I prefer it to relax you and not to disturb you or make you think it's like white noise or something. So maybe the fact that now you know it's rain, hopefully that's more comforting. And the book I'm going to be reading is by Donald Phillips. Yeah, Donald Phillips. And it looks like this. Lincoln on Leadership. I have to read this book for my ROTC class. I have a book report, a presentation, along with a test on this book. So I'm kind of obligated to read it. This is not a typical book I would personally read myself, even though it is a good book. It's just not my type. So it is what it is. If I don't want to fail, I'm gonna have to read this, like literally read it, not just scan through it or whatever. I wish I could. Alright, so I'm gonna read off where I left off at, so I could get a little ahead with my reading, and hopefully you guys don't mind. Meanwhile, I want you guys to close your eyes and picture yourself laying down on a bed. Next to you is this window, and it's open, and you can hear rain pouring outside non-stop. It's dark. It's around 8, but you feel good. Okay? Okay. Chapter 5. Never act out of spite or vengeance. Followers in virtually every organization respond better in and will more easily be led by a leader who consistently displays kindness and empathy than who is associated with vindictiveness and or animosity. This, of course, is only human nature, and Abraham Lincoln seemed to instinctively realize it. Moreover, he understood that to actively engage in slander and malicious dealings would simply eat up far too much of his time, which he used in securing positive end results rather than negative ones. Pettiness, spite, and vengeance are emotional reactions considered to be beneath the dignity of a leader. Followers expect their leaders to rise above such demeaning and degrading activity. While kindness was the very foundation of his personality, Lincoln also understood that if people were going to come with ideas, suggestions, and better ways of making things work, he had to provide the climate to allow it. He actively encouraged innovative thinking and the participation of subordinates. Lincoln wanted to, quote-unquote, adopt new views so fast they shall appear to be true views. And if it was those true views, the truth, that guided Lincoln through his stormy, turbulent tenure in office, whenever he had doubts, and there were many, he fell back on the foundation of his personality: honesty, integrity, compassion, and mercy. He seemed to have virtually no feelings of hate, vindictiveness, or malice. Many people of his day, in fact, thought his tendency toward leniency was overdone. He granted more pardons, for example, than any president had before him, or has since. Lincoln kept warrants for execution marked cowardice in the face of the enemy, pigeonholed in the desk of his office, and referred to them as his leg cases, running itch, or vulnerable heels. "I put it to you," he once remarked, "and I leave it for you to decide for yourself. If Almighty God gives a man a cowardly pair of legs, how can he help their running away with him?" With this philosophy in hand, Lincoln would scrawl on the back of an envelope containing a request for clemency a simple "Let it be done." In one case he saved a 17-year-old boy from firing squad by telegraphing George Meade that he was unwilling for any boy under 18 to be shot. Even two of the president's sons, Willie and Tad, were aware of their father's frequent pardons. While having sentenced their dull soldier to death as punishment for sleeping on guard duty, they obtained mercy from their father. The dull Jack is pardoned. By order of the President, he commanded on executive minutes and stationery, signing it just as he signed all of his pardons. A. Lincoln. President Lincoln felt that the wanton execution of deserting soldiers was not only improper, but it was also damaged the nation. In a statement that sounds as good as it came from someone who was both a savvy businessman and an honest lawyer, Lincoln once wrote, "When neither incompetency nor intentional wrong nor real inquiry to service is imputed, in such cases it is both cruel and impolitic to question a man and make him and his friends permanent enemies to the administration, if not to the government itself." "The government," he later commented, "has a difficult duty to perform. At the very best, it will by turns do both too little and too much. It can properly have no motive of revenge, no purpose to punish merely for punishment's sake, while we must, by all available means, prevent the overthrow of the government. We should avoid planting and cultivating too many thorns in the bosom of society." What can pardon leaders infer from Lincoln's issuance of so many pardons? Some of these words I don't know how to pronounce, guys, so I apologize. Okay. Is there a lesson to be learned here? It is in part that by being compassionate and kind rather than malicious or vengeful, a leader will make fewer enemies for himself and his organization, and will thereby create more supporters, more dedicated soldiers to aid in the overall corporate mission. For each man Lincoln pardoned, he returned a loyal veteran to the military to carry on the struggle for preservation of the Union. By the later stages of the Civil War, knowledge of Lincoln's compassion, his ability to forgive, and his general unwillingness to take harsh actions had spread throughout the nation, even to the Southern states. In February 1865, he left Washington to conduct the Hampton Roads Peace Conference, where he met with several Confederate leaders. During that meeting, the Conservation eventually got around to their fate. Lincoln stated unequivocally that they had forfeited all right to immunity from the punishment. After a long pause, one of the Southerners addressed the President. "Then, Mr. President, if we understand you correctly, you think that we of the Confederacy have committed treason, but we are traitors to the government, that we have forfeited our rights and are proper subjects for the hangman? Is that not about what your words imply?" "Yes, you have stated the proposition better than I did," said Lincoln. "That is about the size of it." "Well, Mr. Lincoln," said the Southerner, replied after another pause, "we have about concluded that we shall not be hanged as long as you are President, if we behave ourselves." Did knowing about Lincoln's compassionate nature give the Confederate leaders courage to seek the opportunity to gain an audience with Lincoln? Did it make him more approachable? Obviously, if people, whether business associates or subordinates, realize that a leader is not given to spite and pettiness, they will be more willing to openly seek him out. This will, in turn, make the leader more effective. Not only would he not execute Confederate officials, if Lincoln had his way, he would let them all go free. "Frighten them out of the country," he urged. "Open the gates, let down the bars, scare them off." Gen. William Tecumseh Sherman, who already knew that it was very hard for the President to hang spies, once asked Lincoln explicitly whether he wanted Jefferson Davis captured or allowed to escape. Lincoln replied, "I'll tell you, General, what I think of taking Jeff Davis. Out in Illinois there was an old temperance lecturer who was very strict in the doctrine and practice of total abstinence. One day, after a long ride in the hot sun, he stopped at the house of a friend, who proposed making him a lemonade. When the friend asked if he wouldn't like a drop of something stronger in the drink, he replied he couldn't think of it. "I'm opposed to it on principle," he said. "But," he added, with a longing glance at the bottle that stood conveniently at hand, "if you could just manage to put in a drop unbeknownst to me, I guess it wouldn't hurt me too much. Now, General, I am bound to oppose the escape of Jeff Davis, but if you could manage to let him slip out unknownst like, I guess it wouldn't hurt me much." "And that," General Sherman later remarked, "is all I could get out of the government as to what its policy was concerning the rebel leaders until Stanton assailed me for Davis' escape." So, I'm gonna stop right there. I still have a lot to go, sadly, but I hope you guys enjoyed, and leave any suggestions in the comment box down below. Okay, I love you guys, and yours truly,